Hello and welcome. You're watching Business Today Television. I'm Sakshi Batra and this is the earnings special edition where our focus is on NIIT, the company which is the talent development company, and the company is engaged in providing skills and talent development solutions to individuals, to enterprises and to institutions. It's come out with the earnings this time around. We've actually seen an improvement on most accounts when it comes to revenue, the EBITDA, the margin figures, as well as the profit after tax, which is coming at 60 crores. We've also seen the revenue jump about 7% year on year and 2% sequentially. The EBITDA figures have also seen a 3% sequential growth and 11% uptick on a year on year basis to over 102 odd crore rupees as well. And the margins have also improved by 100 basis points year on year to 25%. To detail for us what really contributed to this quarterly earnings and what can we expect going forward from here, Mr. Rajendra Pawar, the chairman and the co-founder of NIIT Limited, is now joining in. Warm welcome to you, sir. It's always good to have you with us. First up, I'd like to begin by understanding from you, for our larger viewers base, as to how have you assessed the Q1 earnings, since this is the beginning of FY25 and it sets the tone for the rest of the fiscal year. Are there signs of improvement coming in as we come out of FY24 and look onwards for the entire fiscal year, sir?
So, Sakshi, we have two companies now, as you know. There's NIIT Limited, which deals with the Indian business. That board meeting we had today. And there's NIIT MTS, which deals with the US B2B, as we call it, but Fortune 1000 companies. So,
yes.
I will today talk of the results of today. So you did, I think, allude also to the NIIT MTS results.
Absolutely.
So let me stay with NIIT Limited, which is the board meeting we just finished. There actually, the increase is higher. The revenue has gone up to 825 million, which is 82.5 growth, which is 11% quarter on quarter, and it's 32% year on year.
Okay.
So significant increase, and that's in line, I think, with what we spoke of last time, that we are getting onto a fairly significant path of growth. Right. And even EBITDA, which was -2 last time, was -64, -15 last time, is this quarter, it is -2, and the PAT is at 7.8 crores. So the revenue growth is beginning to ramp up, which was our primary thrust at this time. But we have also become now a phase for investment for us in market and market development, particularly for our NIIT digital business, which is about learning centers and so on. So this growth has been, I think, supported by a very significant growth in training for the BFSI sector. It's over 90% growth. And for the IT sector, which was challenged till last quarter, as you know, this time we have a 14% growth in that sector as well. So growth for the IT sector training is coming back. And you alluded also to results of the IT companies in India. And I think, so those green shoots are becoming visible now.
Okay.
So the concerns that everybody had about talent still hang out there. It's not that, big hirings are not bad. But I think people are beginning to look at improving their growth, getting far more concentrated on growth, and also, I think, seeing improvements in margins. So those are the two main things which I wanted to mention. And EBITDA, as I said, is from year over year is now plus 63. I think that's the significant change. And profit after tax, which was 22 million last year, the same time as 78 million.
Correct.
So we see this now as an articulation or expression of what we were already talking about last time. Remember, we said that we're now going after growth of revenue. Some sectors already firing well, like the FSI, but IT beginning to come back. And while we are investing in growing the digital business, and you'll see much bigger investment in the next couple of quarters as you go into a retail business and look at the consumer side of the business far more seriously. And that's what we are planning to do now as we go forward.
Okay. Do detail for us, sir, your early career segment, the working professional segment, any bigger clients that you have added in this quarter, and what's the outlook, and, which are the key sectors where the newer clients are really coming in from?
So now we are covering the top 4 banks for their talent, all the big banks, and we're also going up into the role that we train their people for. So earlier, as you know, it was for the retail banking, which is happening for another 4th bank now as well. As they expand the retail operation, the talent for that operation. But for those where we've already done it, there we've gone into relationship managers, the people who keep calling you all the time to invest money with them, and the wealth managers. So there's a whole portfolio of learners in the BFSI sector that we are adding. In the IT area, I think we had mentioned earlier also that we've seen better traction with the tier 2 GSIs in last quarter.
Right.
That continues, and our move toward GCCs, which, as you people are also reporting, are growing in number. So those are good. But now we find that even the larger companies, they haven't quite swung back to huge hiring, but we see many of them beginning to talk about adding people as they go forward.
Right. So just one more point on the IT space. We are talking about the green shoots already emerging. On the hiring front, sir, particularly, are things coming back on track? That is one space that was a major concern, within hiring space, because they were not getting adequately skilled people for the newer projects, especially the client's focus, which is now shifting to Gen AI. So now they want to, probably skill their own current employees rather than hiring those skilled people from outside. What is the kind of trend that you have spotted, sir?
So let me just give my views on the comments that you made. So the medium-sized companies and GCCs have been adding people, right? If the large companies, which for the last few quarters did, in fact, they were reducing. Now we have a mix of some people are beginning to add, some people are still kind of curtailing a little bit, but on the main, even the larger companies are now getting ready to start adding, not in a big thing right now, but I think students who come out in the coming year, we will see a better uptake. Then you talked about the impact of Gen AI, you're mixing that. So Gen AI, there's a huge amount of curiosity at this time. And if you track how new technologies come and there's a big hype, it has kind of been close to its top of its hype cycle, where not much is happening, but a lot of excitement, energy, and the initial hiring of talent. And more than hiring of talent, I think companies have realized that you can repurpose a lot of your people who have good operational knowledge and train them on these areas. So that is for the technical people. For the other sectors, which is the non-IT, whether it's banking or even corporate, I think there Gen AI is being looked at not as an addition to AI, to IT. It's an important thing to note. Gen AI has the potential to improve the work of everybody across every sector. Now that's the theoretical picture, so not restricted. In IT, obviously, it helps at the entry level programming work. A lot of testing gets automated, productivity in testing. And gradually, we will also see that some of the entry level programming work will find big productivity gain by the use of Gen AI. So that is a big area going forward. But right now, the curiosity is actually across the board, because anything to do with content. So for marketing people, content is a big thing. Communicating is a big thing. That is finding big expression in Gen AI. Consumer companies, consumer durable companies. So Gen AI is a different story. While it's AI in it, but AI and Gen AI are related but different subjects. AI is very deep, technical, machine learning, extensive amount of data which big companies have to use. Gen AI is actually about language. it's generative, it's not predictive. AI predicts with lots of data, weather forecasting and so on. Generative is that you pose a question, have a dialogue, and it'll gather the knowledge of the world, as we say, with a lot of aberration right now, but it'll generate something real quick.
Correct, correct.
So this generating idea is important, and this is true for you and me, for each one of us. You can, for example, simple thing but useful. If you're doing a lot of mails,
Yeah.
you can improve the quality of your mail. You can deal with a lot of routine mails to be put up to you, so you say correct this and send it. So productivity is not the only thing in mail, the quality of your mails can be, for example. If you're attending too many meetings, which you don't, but we do, you can have whatever was discussed in the meeting put together very quickly.
Yeah, in a minutes of the meeting. Yeah.
So it's not about productivity of meeting alone. I think how we do things will change. And to me, the most promising, which is early stage, which will touch everybody, is the ideas that we generate when we deal with any thought. I think you'll get many, many inputs to improve the ideas that you generate. To me, that is perhaps the most promising part of Gen AI, while we do it and use it at many levels. So to me, it's almost reminiscent of the 80s when IT was new. And we were talking to people about what IT can do for you. Now we're saying that IT is solid, getting on with solid things like AI and so on, data science and so on. But there's a layer happening on top for companies across the board, which takes language and multimodal images, text, everything, and helps us to generate new things, which can help us in our work.
Okay, got that. Now, on the Gen AI factor itself, I wanted to understand, you've mentioned that NIIT MTS, it's further enhanced the Gen AI offering with 10 enterprise-wide use cases now also with AI-powered L&D transformation. Could you also detail for us where exactly is your vision for taking this going forward by the end of FY25? Where do we see this growing to, sir? And meaningfully translating into the books also, by when do we see some action coming back?
So at one level, I think it is this technology which went from 0 to 100 million in a few months, right? In terms of people dabbling with it. So the thing about Gen AI is, I think 90% of the people know about Gen AI, but very few people know Gen AI. This is the important differentiation to make, right? So at this time, for example, at NIIT Limited, while introducing Gen AI into every course that anybody does, introducing it, so get to know the power of it, we're actually back to working with chief executives and CXOs to say, what can this mean to you over and above whatever you do with IT? And across the board. So you may be an IT company, you may be a non-IT company, you may be a consumer goods company. So what can Gen AI mean for you? To us, as I said, it's reminiscent to me of the early 80s when we were doing those conversations with companies who hadn't quite embarked on IT in a serious way. And now we're talking and saying it's a non-technical dialogue to start with. It's about what are the possibilities that Gen AI does for you. But unlike the olden days where we were only talking about exciting things, we're trying to put a framework for companies.
Sure.
So while there are many risks to Gen AI today, but there are many explosive new ideas which represent opportunities. So it's like the Wild West. But companies are cautious about doing serious applications on Gen AI because of issues of privacy and where is the data coming from. Those are unknowns, and the rigor of getting, interacting with Gen AI and getting reliable outputs, that is improving very rapidly, but it's not quite there for companies to put their mainline system and put Gen AI into it. So what we're talking to senior executives right now is how should they go about embracing Gen AI? And I'm personally actually spending a lot of time. We put together a 100-day program for company leadership to think about how to embrace it. And I think for Gen AI, it's a period of education. For 90% of the people, it's a period of maybe consulting for about 10% of the people, and is a period of implementation for those who've been doing this for the last year and a half, maybe for 3, 4, 5% of the customers. So it is that stage. But it needs education. It doesn't only need skilling, unlike a programming language. Because it's a new animal, it's extremely powerful, it's evolving continuously. So I believe that...
And it is developing, and we don't know how it is going to be taking a shape of over the next few years. We do not know that yet because it's just a starting point.
Well, see, if you look at what people have been doing with it, so for example, NIIT doesn't only teach youngsters, we teach senior people. So we run a conference for digital architects. That's people who've done 15, 20, 30 years, right? For building very complicated systems. Now, these people, we had a conference a couple of weeks ago in Bangalore. And we had 104 people who attended. And I spent the whole day because it's very impressive the work that they are doing. And we found that many of these people, who, let's say some of the big GSIs, GCCs, who are working with their global leader in this sector and global leader in that sector, they have very complicated information architectures, but they have embedded GenAI in some parts. So there are those companies which are going ahead and doing it. A vast majority are experimenting. Many companies are beginning to use it for, let's say, for your outgoing marketing program, promotion program, where there's a lot of communication to happen, right? They're using it there. So at individual level, there are applications you can do which are lower risk, but we start preparing you on what you can do with it. So, and soon people using it will start using it for the idea formulation. So it's one of those things which is widely spread at a thin surface, but deeper applications are limited. And the deeper applications will start coming out for more and more companies, perhaps in the next year, 2 years, 3 years. It's not yesterday, but it's not like tomorrow immediately. Because you must have talked about the AI Act that EU has just brought out. There are issues about AI which essentially pertain to data and its protection and the ownership of data. So when you train your large language models, you're putting tons of data in it, and then it's getting kind of anonymized, and you don't know who gets it or what you get. And if you are putting a query to one of the chat GPT type things, you get a lot of data. Some of them will say they'll protect you if you are found doing something wrong, but you don't know where it came from. Right? And therefore, this issue is a very important issue on privacy and data security. So for large-scale applications, companies are still not clear that they have methods. So everybody's building guardrails of sorts. And so but it's big. It is very big because, as I said, it doesn't just deal with data, it deals with language. Yes. And all of us know that language is the only thing that differentiates human from all other animals. And into language is embedded meaning, into language is embedded the organizational culture. So we're talking about something very different here.
Yes, it's a very insightful topic for sure, and something that is developing, and all of us are just trying to get our hands on it as to how it is going to be impacting the world at large and various industries. So the time is short, and I'll have to thank you, Mr. Pawar, for being with us at least and sharing these many insights with us. Always look forward to quarter on after quarter to listen to you, to understand which way is NIIT now headed. You've already talked about MTS, and that will be more important to track from Q2 onwards as well, in which I will continue to discuss with you further on. Thank you so much and appreciate your time.
Thank you. Always a pleasure.
Thank you so much. With that, viewers, we wrap up this very special conversation with NIIT Limited on the earnings and the outlook on Gen AI as to how it is going to be impacting various industries, including BFSI, which is now adopting it at a large scale, which Mr. Pawar highlighted, and the IT space, which has already been at the forefront of it. But we'll get you more insights continuing going forward. Do stay tuned on to Business Today Television. Up next is Market Today, the closing edition.
A few hours of rain and Delhi goes underwater. the capital was battered by the highest single-day rain in 14 years.